We often picture winemaking as this, well, almost magical thing, right? Fermentation, aging in oak barrels. But what if I told you that some of the most crucial decisions, the ones that really define a wine's final character, happen way, way before any of that? Today, let's pull back the curtain on the unseen art of pre-fermentation, because that's where a wine's fate is very often sealed.
Yeah, look at this. This beautiful glass of wine. It's not just a drink. It's really the end result of 1,000 tiny battles, all fought and won by the winemaker. And that very first battle, it kicks off the instant a grape skin is broken, and that fresh juice, what we call the must, hits the air for the very first time.
So, have you ever really stopped to wonder about this? What is it that separates a truly brilliant white wine from a mediocre one? Why is one Sauvignon Blanc so crisp and vibrant and just alive, while another one from right down the road can be kind of flat and dull? The grapes could be basically identical, but the wine, totally different. So what gives?
Well, the secret, it turns out, is all in the prep work. It all happens in those first few hours, before a single drop of alcohol is even made. It's all about protecting, cleaning, and perfecting that raw grape must. This is where the winemaker isn't a magician, they're more like a guardian, meticulously setting the stage for everything that's about to happen. So our first line of defense is all about fighting oxidation. The moment that grape juice is exposed to air, a clock starts ticking, and it's ticking fast. The first and, honestly, the most dangerous enemy is oxidation. It can literally strip away all those beautiful, delicate aromas and even turn the juice brown before fermentation can even think about starting. And get this, the scale of this threat is just massive. We're not talking about a slow, gentle process here. No way. This is an incredibly aggressive enzyme-driven reaction. It's 150 times more active and dangerous than the kind of slow oxidation you might find at an old bottle of wine. This is an all-out sprint, not a marathon. Okay, so to defeat this enemy, you've got to understand it, right? Think of it like a fire. It needs 3 things to burn. You've got oxygen, which is the fuel. You've got phenolic compounds from the grape skins and seeds, which is the stuff that burns. And then you have these powerful oxidizing enzymes, which are the spark that kicks the whole thing into overdrive. The winemaker's entire job right here is to break up that trio.
So, the big question is, how do they do it? How do they stop this reaction in its tracks? Well, fortunately, winemakers have a whole arsenal of tools and techniques to fight back and protect all that precious potential in the must.
All right, let's look at these tools. The number one weapon is sulfur dioxide, or SO2. It basically just shuts those enzymes right down. Then there's temperature. Cooling the must is absolutely crucial. Dropping the temp from, say, 30 down to 12 degrees Celsius slashes that enzyme activity by a whopping 2/3. They can also use something like CO2 gas to create a protective blanket over the juice, which gets rid of the oxygen. And sometimes they'll add ascorbic acid, yep, vitamin C, as a backup. And as we're about to find out, just cleaning the juice is a super powerful tool in this fight too. All right, so once the must is protected, the next job is a big one, the great cleanup. We've got to rack the must. You see, freshly pressed grape juice, it's not the clear, pristine liquid you might imagine. Nope. It's a cloudy, kind of gritty mixture that's loaded with solids. And winemakers have a pretty fitting name for it, sludge. And yeah, sludge is pretty much what it sounds like. It's this whole collection of suspended particles. We're talking tiny bits of grape skin and pulp, dirt from the vineyard, little pieces of plant tissue, microbes, you name it. And if you leave all that stuff in, you're asking for trouble. It can lead to some really unpleasant, grassy and bitter flavors in the finished wine. And you can see from this chart, sludge isn't just one simple thing. It's a really complex cocktail. I mean, it's mostly made up of these things called polysaccharides, but you've also got lipids, ash, and other compounds in there. Getting this stuff out is absolutely key if you want to get those fresh, pure, delicate aromas we all love in a great white wine. But okay, here's the winemaker's big dilemma. On the one hand, racking, or cleaning, the must, gives you those fresher aromas and a more stable color. But on the other hand, if you're too aggressive with it, you can actually strip out good stuff like voluble aroma precursors and nutrients that the yeast really needs to do its job. So it's a super delicate balancing act. So let's look at the first option, which is often called the gentle approach. This is static racking. Think of it as the patient hands-off method. And the way it works is beautifully simple. You just let the must settle in a tank, usually for about 12 to 48 hours. Gravity literally does all the work for you, pulling all those heavy sludge particles down to the bottom. Sometimes they'll chill the tank or add enzymes to speed it up. Then they just carefully transfer the clear juice off the top, leaving that layer of sludge behind. It's super gentle, but it's also slow, and it ties up a lot of valuable tank space. Now, that patient approach is great, but it's not always practical, right? Especially if you're a big producer. So what happens if you just don't have the time or the space to let things settle? Well, that's when you turn to the power play, dynamic racking.
How does this work? Well, one of the main methods is centrifugation. The must gets fed into a centrifuge that's spinning at something like 6,000 to 8,000 RPMs. I mean, that immense force separates the heavy solids from the liquid almost instantly. The clear juice flows out one way, and the sludge gets kicked out the other. It's incredibly fast, super efficient, but you can imagine it can be a much harsher treatment for that delicate juice.
Okay, so at this point, our must is protected from oxidation and it's been cleaned up. We're almost there, but it's not quite ready for fermentation yet. This final step is all about corrections, fine-tuning the raw material. It's kind of like a chef tasting a sauce right before it goes out, making those last-minute adjustments to make sure the balance is absolutely perfect. So is the must perfectly balanced? There are really two main things the winemaker has to check here: acidity and sugar. Is it too sharp or is it too flat? And does it have enough sugar to hit that target alcohol level, or maybe even too much?
Let's talk about acidity. If it's too low, the final wine is just going to taste flat and lifeless. So to fix that, a winemaker can add a bit of tartaric acid for that pop of freshness and structure. But what if it's too high? That can happen in cooler growing seasons, and it makes the wine taste really harsh and sour. In that case, they can add something like calcium carbonate or potassium bicarbonate to gently bring that acid level back down.
Then you've got sugar, and sugar is just as important because remember, sugar equals alcohol. If there's not enough sugar, the wine will end up weak with too little alcohol. To fix this, the winemaker might add some concentrated crepe must, or, in places where it's allowed, they can use a process called chaptalization, which is basically adding regular sugar. And if there's too much sugar, well, that's a tougher problem. The main solution there is to blend it with some other must that has lower sugar.
And with that, all the prep work is finally done. The raw grape juice has been shielded from its enemies, it's been cleaned and purified, and it's been perfectly balanced. It's not just must anymore. Now it's a perfectly prepped canvas, totally ready for the yeast to begin the amazing transformation into wine. So let's just recap that Guardian's checklist, shall we? First, protection. The must has defended against that relentless attack of oxidation. Second, purification. It was cleaned of all that sludge to make sure the final aromas are pure. And third, perfection. It was balanced for acidity and sugar, making it the perfect home for the yeast. The whole foundation for a quality wine has been meticulously laid. So, here's a thought for you. The next time you're enjoying a really beautiful, crisp white wine, what invisible decisions made by the winemaker will you be able to taste? Think about it. Think about all that unseen art that happened in just those first few hours. Are you tasting the clean, pure notes from a gentle rocking, or that perfect zip of acidity that was carefully adjusted? Every single sip tells a story of decisions made long, long before it was ever really wine.